Good afternoon, everyone. I am Roshan Arachchige from Clarkson University, Potsdam, New York. So today my topic of the presentation is analysis of micromechanical properties of geopolymer gel using machine learning technique. Okay, I'll start with some little background and what motivated me to do this study. So as we all know, OPC is responsible for around 8% of the industrial CO2 emissions. So in order to address this sustainability issue, many researchers have developed new suggestions. One of them is fly ash and slag based alkali-activated concrete, which is a zero OPC concrete system. But nowadays, due to the closure of thermal power plants and due to the increase in the use of recycled steel, these fly ash and slag resources are declining. So we need to explore new binders so that we can sustain in future. So in order to address that issue, we have explored three types of ground bottom mesh and three types of calcined clays, and as potential binders for alkali activation. And both of these materials proved successful when they were alkali activated to yield good compressive strength ranging from 4,000 to 6,000 psi. So not only the fresh and hardened properties, we need to identify what are the micromechanical properties that we can find in these specimens. So we all know cementitious materials are composed of several phases. So these different types of phases have different types of micromechanical properties. The two main micromechanical properties we are interested is reduced modulus and micro hardness, which can easily be measured using nanoindentation technique. The past researchers have found that there are several phases in fly ash and slag geopolymers. So there are mainly cash or Nash gel as the matrix. Then we can find unreacted grains, pores, and cracks as well in a specimen. Analysis of these microstructural properties is vital so that we can understand these phases and further develop the geopolymer performance in terms of its strength and durability. So the main objective of my study was to analyze these micromechanical properties of the bottom mesh and calcined clay based geopolymer gel using machine learning, and trying to identify what are the different microstructural phases present in it. As I told you earlier, the two materials I used are ground bottom mesh and calcined clays. So bottom mesh is produced as a residue in coal combustion. I've selected three types of bottom meshes. They have different oxide compositions and mineral compositions. Mainly, I differentiate the three bottom meshes based on their calcium oxide content. The calcined clays used were mainly kaolinite based calcined clays, calcined at 750 degrees Celsius. So these three materials also have different oxide and mineral compositions based on the studies we've done. As the activator solution, I used a solution of sodium silicate and sodium hydroxide. Okay, let's move to the experimental part. So by using these two materials, I prepared test samples and cured them at 25 degrees Celsius up to 28 days. Then prepared epoxy impregnated samples. Then they were polished to obtain a smooth surface. Then I roughly divided the one specimen into four parts, and from each location I obtained 200 indents. So totally per sample there were 800 data points I obtained. So for the data collection, I used high-citron triboindenter. So I followed this procedure like 10 by 20 grid pattern with a spacing of 10 microns between nanoindents. And the indentation load I used was 2.5 millinewtons. In order to analyze the data I obtained, I used two methods. The first one I used is a Gaussian mixture model, the GMM model, which can be applied to the nanoindentation data, assuming the data is distributed as a probability density function, which is Gaussian, and the superposition of the peaks are linear. So a Gaussian distribution have two parameters, mean and its variance, which is given by that equation. The second method I used is k-means clustering, which is an unsupervised machine learning algorithm, which is used to partition n number of data into k number of clusters by minimizing the within cluster sum of squares given by this equation. Okay. In order to use these two analytical techniques, I need to first determine the number of clusters or the number of phases present in my sample. So for that, first I plotted all the within sum of squares, which is also known as WSS. So based on the number of clusters. So when the number of clusters increases, this WSS decreases. So I obtain a 90% reduction limit, and using that I've determined that k equals the number of clusters 4 or 5 would be suitable for this by using that method. And also I did the gap statistic model. It calculates the between cluster sum of squares, the distance between two clusters. When the number of clusters increases, this between cluster sum increases. So by using the elbow method, I selected k equals 5 or 8 would be suitable. So based upon these two methods, finally I decided k equals 5 would be optimal. So these are the results of the Gaussian mixture model. From each material group, I selected one material to present here. So from the round bottom mesh, I used the GBA3 material. Then the calcined from the calcined clay group, I use CC3. You see, I used the reduced modulus data to create a histogram plot, and then based on the histogram, I plotted its probability density function and deconvoluted that probability density function into 5 sub peaks based on the number of clusters I used. So each sub peak will have a weightage, mean value, and a variance value. So if you observe the first graph, the superposition of these sub-peaks is less and peaks are wider spread. The first and the second sub-peaks are bigger and they are carrying a higher weightage. Similarly, in the CC3 material also, the first and the second sub-peaks carries the higher weightage. But compared to the first material, the peaks are highly superimposed due to the concentrated data points I obtained. These are the results of the k-means clustering I performed. I clustered the data into 5 clusters. Each cluster will have a weightage, a mean value, and a standard deviation. So if you see the cluster for the GBA3, it has a wider range of data due to the presence of various minerals in it. And in the clusters for CC3, we observed a narrower range of data due to The material is a pure form of clay, and there's low variation within the clusters. Here also I observed that the first and the second clusters carries the highest weightage. After this, I came to the phase identification stage. I have plotted all the k-means, mean values of the all k-means cluster values of all the materials in the first graph and the results of the GMM model in the second graph. So this is the slide. So the based on these mean values, I differentiated what are the 5 phases present in them. As I observed, the first 2 clusters represents the reaction products, cash gel, low Nash gel. First one is with low calcium, sodium, and aluminum. The second phase with high calcium, sodium, and aluminum. Clusters 3 and 4 represents the unreacted grains, amorphous materials, and the crystalline materials, respectively. And the 5th cluster is representing the metal compounds, metal oxides present in the material. And I observed GBS have a wider range of values because of due to the presence of these stiff crystalline materials, and the higher weightage of the phase 1 and 2 was mainly reaction products in the sample. In order to verify this data, I did an EDS point analysis. I obtained EDS point data for each nano indent that I performed on the sample, and based on the clusters, I calculated the aluminum to silica ratio, sodium to silica ratio, and the calcium to silica ratio of each cluster and of each data, and average them into these groups. So based on the cluster, I have depicted what are the how these ratios change. So if you see the cluster 1, it has low calcium, aluminum, and sodium ratios compared to the cluster 2. Both these clusters represents the reaction products. The cluster 3 and 4 have high silicon contents in the material. So, and both these 3 and 4 represents the unreacted minerals. The cluster 5 has the least ratios because they are the metal. They are coming from the metal oxides. Okay, I also did the SEM imaging of the geopolymers and found these different phases in the sample. We found cash and Nash gel matrix, unreacted amorphous materials are present, and crystalline materials are present, and pores, etc. So, with this slide, I have come to the final conclusions. By studying these micromechanical properties, I identified 5 phases in our material. The proportion of the reaction product was higher in both of the material groups, and calcined clays have less crystalline mineral impurities than the bottom meshes. Therefore, calcined clays are more reactive than bottom meshes. In future, I will be using this data to develop models correlating the chemical and mechanical properties of the phases. Using these support vector regression, decision trees, and artificial neural networks to develop models using machine learning. Finally, I would like to thank our funding agent, FHWA, the collaborators, Penn State University and the Purdue, and my university, Clarkson University. Thank you.